Hi everyone, this is William. I'm just going to show you two different ways to deal with missing data. So just a quick background about myself. I'm a quantitative analyst, work at a bank. So my job is pretty much creating statistical models. So we usually work with R and SQL pretty often. Well, those are the two main tools. So I'm just going to show you a beginner's introduction to deal with missing data. So I'm just going to show you two different ways, and in future videos I'll actually show you more complex ways. So let's start with creating a new script. So great. So I'm just showing you the following R version. Cool. So just going to load up some libraries that I'll actually use. So I'm just going to load up ggplot2. Reason because I want to look. I'm curious to see how my data is actually distributed. This is actually really important when you're dealing with missing data. Load up dplyr. So dplyr is for data manipulation. If you get an error when you run these, it's because you've actually not installed them. So if you should know how to install them by now, or else have a look at my previous videos. So I'm also going to load up a CSV. So just want data v.csv c. This is actually, I know where it's actually located. So what did I call it? Yeah, dummy.csv. So I just created a dummy data set. Cool. So I'm just kind of curious how my data looks like. Okay, great. Let's see. I seem to have been missing one column. Not sure where that went. Okay. Interesting. But I'll bring that up again. Add source column. So it should show me all the panes, however they are not there. Okay. Okay. So let's see if I can actually fix that. I'm not sure. That's actually the first time that's actually happened. So let's see. Does that go away? Don't save. Oh, very weird. Anyway, let's continue on. So let's look at our data. So as you can see, there's actually two columns, just a y by x. So I can quickly tell there's a lot of missing values. So let's move that a bit to the side. My normal videos and my normal setup is not like this at all. So okay, anyway, I'm just going to look at the summary. So you can quickly tell over here there's actually 166 missing observations. I mean, there's actually nothing in there out of just over 1,000, which is not a good thing. Also, I can quickly tell here, look at the median and the mean, that they are not normally distributed. However, just even if they were, does not mean they are normally distributed. So I'm also very curious how it actually looks like. So I'm just going to use ggplot2 to plot it out. AES, so x is equal to, so just remember using big X because that's the name of our X. And I'm just going to do a simple density plot. Geom density. Okay. So yeah, so as you can tell, it's looks almost normal. To me, it's good enough. So one method to deal with it is actually just replacing the missing values with either your mean or your median. I have always preferred to if I had to, which I really don't. However, you may want to start with the most simplest way, which is replacing your null values with your median or your mean. I would suggest your median. So I'm just going to create a new column, and I'm just going to use I could have used an if else, however I'm just going to use case when. So case when actually comes from the dplyr package. So if your code does not work, it's because you have not installed and loaded this. So let's go down with it. So firstly, I'm just typing some commands. Let's make this over here. So is NA, so that means if it's null, if it's not null. So let's say data X. So I'm just gonna use a logical operator here. So this actually means is not. So if it's not null, then it'll give me a logical value. So it'll give me true or false. So you can put true, or you can just put T. Usually I just use T. It's just much faster. If it's not missing, then I'll just leave it as is. So for example, then it'll be exactly the same value. Excellent. So just put the column there. However, if it is missing data X, then I'll actually just replace that with the median. So you can choose to use the mean or the median. It's really up to you. So data X, and just put NA RM. So that just ignores the null values. So you can see right here, there's actually two X variables. Sorry, just two columns. I mean, so there should be a new one once I run this. Okay, great. So now there's three. It's worked. So I'm just look at my data. So as you can see, all the null values have actually been replaced with the median. So if we just look at this weird setup here. So this is the median over here. So all of the ones that were previously null have now been replaced with the median. So that is actually one way of doing it. However, because in my field of employment, it's actually really important that we stick to as much as possible to base R and not R packages to do anything. This for many reasons, which if you work in finance and statistical modeling, then you'll know why. So I'm just going to create a function that will actually replace them. So what I'm about to do is actually, instead of just replacing one single value, I'm going to create randomly generated values that is actually normally distributed for mean and a median and a standard deviation. So I'm just going to create a function. So you can call it whatever you want. You can call it myfun or foo, whatever you want. I always, to save time, I call it that function A. So you'll actually take that. So make sure that's actually a matrix. So A. So you can actually call it mean, however it'll be confusing, you'll see later on. So mean A, make sure you ignore the missing values. Yeah, true. And your standard deviation. You can probably see I use the that instead of standard R, whatever you call it. It's because I've actually known many computer languages. So A is equal to NA.rm. True. Okay. And I'm gonna actually use another function inside here, which actually creates a randomly generated value, which is normally distributed. So it's actually a function within a function. So I'm going to use a function called rnorm. So if you don't know what it is, just go to your console and type in question mark rnorm and just run that. So it just tells you, it actually creates, it takes in a vector and it actually so a vector of a mean, which is actually here, and a standard deviation, which comes from your actual data frame or your data. So that's really all you need. And I'm just going to call rand. So you can call this whatever you want. You can call it rand, randy, whatever. So our norm, let's see, a, so mean is equal to m, sd is equal to s, and you want it to actually return this value right there. So okay, so also one before you go any further, you can see in your environment there's actually just that. So to use your function, you actually have to run this once, and now you'll see this is a function that you have created. So let's try our next method. So here I'll actually just copy and paste it. So instead of using median, I'm just going to use my own function, which I call foo, or you can call it my num if you don't care. Just remember that. And just run this. So I'm just going to call this new 2. So, and you can see now we've actually got 4 columns. So we can actually, okay, so we can see our 43rd is the first one is actually our first null value. So this one is actually now randomly generated using our mean and standard deviation from this column. So one thing about our random number generator is that every time you run this, you'll get different values. So for example, let's say here your 33rd one is actually 66, or approximately 66. Let's say I ran this again, and let's go back and look at our data. So now it's 67. Let's run that again. Let's try to get something interesting. So look, now it's 36. So it's randomly generated. So for example, if you actually want to keep it the same all the time, which really does not matter, you can actually look into the following function, which is called setSeed. And in here you can type in any number, it doesn't really matter. So if, for example, you want to replicate my results, then you would actually use this. So you can look up what setSeed is. It comes with base R, setSeed, and it tells you what it does. So you would technically put that within your function. So before you run your rnorm. So that's a task that you can look into, where you would actually put that in there. Would you put that at the start? Would you put that there? Would you put that in your function? So that is something that you can investigate. So thank you for listening. I hope you look forward to my next chapters, which I'll go more deeper into more complex methods that you can actually deal with missing data. So one of the most other ones is actually when you have multiple x, like x1, x2, x3, whatever, you can try to predict x1 using your other x variables. So I'll delve into those techniques later on. There is a package which you can download to make your life easier. I believe it's called mice. So let's see. Yeah, so you can actually use mice if you want. However, because in my field of work, everything needs to be transparent, and I'm a statistician, it's really important I know the distribution of every single column. So that's it. Thank you for your time. If you have any questions, put in the comments, and I hope you subscribe, which I'll actually get into more complex ways to deal with data, such as web scraping, complex functions, version control, you name it. Thanks for your time. That was William, and till next time.